and the listeners' glows responded in kind, pulsing rhythmically as if in unison with the story. Leela found herself drawn to Ethan, and together they moved toward a window that framed the moonlit town outside. Their glows mingled, casting gentle hues of amber and rose across their faces. "I never imagined this night," Lila whispered, her voice trembling slightly with emotion, "that we'd all be here, sharing this light." Ethan smiled, a rare softness touching his features. "Neither did I, but maybe that's what this town does brings light to the spaces we thought were forever dark." Their hands brushed, sending a ripple through their intertwined glows that warmed them from within. Around them, laughter bubbled up again as Maggie and Sammy led a spontaneous song, their voices blending with the gentle clinking of glasses and the soft rustle of pages from Ethan's books. As the night deepened, stories were shared of loss, of hope, of second chances. Each confession was met with understanding and light, the emotional auras weaving together into a tapestry that spoke of resilience and connection. Leela's heart felt fuller than it had in years, buoyed by the knowledge that she was not alone. The gathering began to wind down, but the warmth lingered, a promise etched into the very air. Standing beside Ethan, Leela looked round at the faces illuminated not just by the cafe's lights, but by the undeniable glow of shared healing. "This is a night to remember," she said softly, a smile breaking through the last shadows of her grief. Ethan nodded, his eyes shining as brightly as the town's collective light. "And just the beginning." Outside, the stars twinkled as if in agreement. The night itself, holding its breath in reverence for the fragile, brilliant light nurtured within this small, luminous town. And as the dawn approached, the promise of a new day shimmered like a beacon, one that would carry Lila, Ethan, and their community forward, together with hearts alight. The evening's warmth settled deep into Leela's bones as she stepped out into the cool night air. The soft glow of the cafe fading behind her, but the feeling of connection glowing brighter than ever within her. Her steps were lighter, each one carrying her further from the shadows of grief and closer to the light of possibility. The town around her hummed with gentle radiance, a living reminder that even the faintest spark, when nurtured with care and trust, could blaze into something truly magnificent. "Come back inside," Ethan's voice called softly from the doorway. Lila paused, then turned with a smile that reached her eyes. "I think I will." Together, they walked back into the heart of the light, ready to face whatever the future held, united, hopeful, and illuminated by the night to remember. The sky above the quaint town was a canvas of fading twilight, soft hues of lavender and rose bleeding into the deepening blue of evening. Leela and Ethan found themselves once again perched on the familiar wooden bench overlooking the heart of the town, where the gentle glow of emotional lights shimmered like a constellation come alive. Their auras, once solitary and muted, now pulsed in gentle synchrony, weaving a tapestry of light that felt both fragile and fiercely alive. Lila's chestnut hair caught the last rays of sun, strands dancing in the light breeze as she glanced sideways at Ethan. His dark eyes met hers, a quiet intensity glowing in their depths, mirroring the warmth beginning to unfurl within her own heart. It felt surreal, this shared rhythm of light and feeling, a reminder that even after so much grief and shadow, connection could still spark brilliance. You ever think about how much light we all carry inside us? Ethan's voice was low, almost a whisper that mingled with the evening air. Sometimes it's hidden, sometimes it's blinding, and sometimes it just needs someone else to help it shine brighter. Leela smiled softly, the first genuine one in days. "I think I'm starting to understand that. That maybe light isn't just something we have to find alone. Earlier that afternoon, nestled amid the comforting scent of old paper and polished wood, Ethan had read a poem aloud in his bookstore. His voice, steady and warm, wrapped around Lila like a soft blanket. The words spoke of loss and hope, shadows and illumination, and as she listened, she felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to crumble. The dim glow that had long hovered uncertainly around her flickered with new life. They had stayed long after the last customer left, the silence between them comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. Ethan's eyes had flicked to hers more than once, a subtle invitation that Lila found herself eager to accept. Now, under the vast expanse of the starlit sky, a small fire crackled outside Lila's studio. The warmth of the flames mingled with the gentle hum of the town's night glow, creating a cocoon of serenity and possibility. They shared stories and dreams, their voices weaving together like threads of gold and silver in the night. Lila spoke of her hopes to capture the town's emotional light in her paintings, to translate the intangible into color and form. Ethan shared memories of his sister, Ella, the pain her loss had etched into his soul, and how facing that grief had led him here, to this moment, to her. Their hands found each other in the flickering firelight, tentative at first, then with growing certainty. The combined glow of their hearts brightened noticeably, casting a golden hue over their faces. It was a light born of trust, of shared vulnerability, and the quiet promise of new beginnings. Together, Ethan murmured, we can shine brighter than either of us ever could alone. Lila nodded, her heart swelling with an emotion that was part relief, part exhilaration. Then let's not be afraid to let that light grow. As the night deepened, the town's gentle glow seemed to pulse in harmony with their joined light, the beacon of hope in the darkness, a testament to the power of connection and healing. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, Lila felt ready to walk it with Ethan's hand in hers, and their hearts alight. Their story was no longer one of solitary grief, but of shared strength and radiant possibility. And as the stars blinked softly overhead, the promise of tomorrow shimmered just within reach. And yet, beneath that hopeful glow, an unspoken question lingered in the quiet night air. How far would they be willing to go to protect this fragile light they had found? The answer, as always, would be written in the coming days, one glowing heartbeat at a time. The porch creaked softly beneath us as we settled into the worn wooden chairs. The night sky sprawled above like an endless tapestry of twinkling stars. The town was quiet now, the gentle hum of distant laughter and the faint scent of jasmine weaving through the cool air. I glanced over at Ethan, his dark eyes reflecting the starlight, a soft glow pulsing faintly around him, brighter than before, but still subdued, like a candle fighting the breeze. It's peaceful out here, I breathed, feeling the weight of the day ease just a little. Sometimes I forget how quiet the night can be when you're not chasing shadows. He offered a small smile, the kind that didn't quite reach his eyes but was honest all the same. I think the quiet helps us hear what we're really feeling. At least, that's what I hope. I nodded, my chest tightening with the honesty of that hope. It was strange, this dance we'd been doing to people with glowing hearts, trying to navigate the fragile light of second chances. Do you think we're ready? I asked softly, ready to face what's next. Ethan's gaze dropped to the interlaced fingers resting between us, his dim glow flickering uncertainly. I don't know if anyone's ever truly ready for the future, Lila, but maybe what matters is who we choose to face it with. The words settled around me, warm and steady, like a promise. I squeezed his hand, feeling the faint pulse of his light mingle with mine. I want to try, I said. Not just to try to heal, but to live, to really live. He nodded, and the silence that followed was comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. We moved inside to his bookstore, the familiar scent of old paper and polished wood wrapping around us like a bomb. The amber glow of the lamps cast gentle shadows across the shelves, creating a quiet sanctuary from the world outside. Ethan pulled out a worn volume of poetry, flipping through the pages until he found a passage he wanted to share. His voice was low and steady as he read, the words echoing softly between us, weaving threads of hope and longing through the still air. As he spoke, I felt my own glow pulse, not with sorrow, but with something lighter, something that resembled hope. The past was always there, a shadow at the edge of my light, but tonight it felt less like a burden and more like a part of the whole. A gentle breeze drifted through the open window, carrying the scent of jasmine from the garden below. The fragrance stirred memories of Grace, the softness of her smile, the warmth of her touch. I swallowed hard, sharing pieces of my story with Ethan, the ache of loss, the struggle to create, the fragile flicker of hope that had brought me home. He listened with quiet intensity, never rushing, never judging. When I finished, he offered his own truths, the weight of his sister Ella's absence, the fear of losing those he cared about, the slow journey toward opening his heart. For a moment, it felt as if the entire world had shrunk to the two of us, our combined light pushing back the darkness that lingered just beyond the window pane. Then, almost hesitantly, Ethan reached out, his hand covering mine. Our glows brightened, a warm radiance that filled the room and seemed to touch every corner of my soul. "Whatever comes," he said, "we face it together." I smiled through tears, the weight of fear lifting just enough to let in the possibility of joy. Together, I agreed. Outside, the stars continued to shine, silent witnesses to the fragile, brilliant light. We had found a light born not from perfection, but from the courage to embrace the unknown with open hearts. And as the night deepened, so did our promise to face the future, not alone, but hand in hand. The journey ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long while, I wasn't afraid to walk it. Not with Ethan by my side, and not with the light of hope burning steadily within me. As we sat there, wrapped in the quiet glow of our newfound connection, the night whispered its ancient song, a reminder that even in darkness, the faintest light could grow brilliant, if only nurtured with trust and love. And so, with hearts alight and spirits intertwined, we stepped toward the future, ready to meet whatever awaited us with open eyes and open hearts. The porch light flickered softly, a quiet beacon in the night, a symbol of the journey we had begun, and the love that would guide us through the shadows yet to come. But as dawn approached, and the first pale light crept over the horizon, I couldn't help but wonder what new challenges awaited us in the days ahead. How would our fragile light hold up against the storms to come? Only time would tell. But for now, in this moment, suspended between night and day, hope was our brightest flame. And that was enough. The evening settled round me like a soft cloak, the fading light outside the window casting long shadows across my studio floor. I sat by the pane, brush in hand, but still, my gaze drifting beyond the glass to the familiar streets of our town. The quaint homes and cozy cafes began to shimmer with their nightly glow, the emotional light that made this place like no other. Each flicker and pulse told a story, a laugh shared, a sorrow born, a hope kindled. I watched, feeling the warmth of those stories, even as my own glow remained a gentle, uneven pulse. For so long, I had feared my light would never fully return. The grief had wrapped itself around my heart like a dense fog, muting the colors I once knew so well. But tonight felt different. There was a quietness inside me, not emptiness, but a space where something fragile yet real was taking root. Vulnerability, I realized, was not the enemy. It was the source of my glow. Turning from the window, I looked at the canvases that lined the walls, some half-finished, others abandoned in moments of doubt. Each bore witness to a chapter of my healing, the strokes capturing light and shadow alike. I traced a finger lightly over one painting, a night scene swirling with blues and golds, the town alive with luminescence. It was imperfect, raw, and yet it held a truth I had only begun to understand. My phone buzzed softly on the table, a message from Ethan lighting the screen. "Bookstore's quiet tonight. Come by if you want some company." A small smile tugged at my lips. His glow, once a faint flicker, had begun to shine brighter these past weeks, a beacon coaxed out by trust and shared pain. At the bookstore, the familiar scent of old paper and polished wood enveloped me. Ethan looked up from the worn poetry book in his hands, eyes warm and inviting. His sweater was threadbare at the cuffs, but the softness of his presence wrapped around me like a bomb. We settled into a nook between tall shelves, the dim light casting soft halos around us. Our conversation was quiet but earnest, words weaving a tapestry of mutual understanding. Ethan read aloud a few lines from Rilke, his voice steady and rich with feeling. The sound seemed to brighten the space between us, his emotional light mingling with mine in a gentle glow that felt like coming home. As the night deepened, I found myself speaking more freely than I had in months, sharing fears and hopes tangled with the memories of grace. Ethan listened without judgment, his own vulnerabilities unfolding in the spaces between our words. It was in this shared openness that I truly felt the glow within me alive, flickering, yet no longer fragile. Walking home under the vast, star-studded sky, the town's emotional lights shimmered like a sea of tiny lanterns, each a testament to resilience and connection. I paused beneath the ancient oak tree in the square, the branches stretching wide above me, leaves whispering softly in the evening breeze. Ethan joined me, his hand finding mine, fingers intertwining naturally. Our lights danced together, a warm blend of amber and soft blue, a visual symphony of the journey we'd traveled from isolation to intimacy, from fear to hope. In that moment, I understood that the glow within was not a fixed flame, but a living thing, shaped by love, loss, and the courage to be seen. The night hummed with possibility, the promise that even amidst shadows, light could grow brighter. And as we stood there, hearts alight and unguarded, I knew that my story was no longer defined by grief alone, but by the strength of embracing who I was, imperfect, vulnerable, and beautifully alive. Tomorrow would come with its challenges, but for now, beneath the gentle glow of our town and each other, I was home, and in that glow I found the courage to keep shining. The journey was far from over, but the light within me was steading, ready to face whatever dawn would bring. The night wrapped the town in a velvet quiet, the kind that came just after the last hum of day faded, and before the festival's first lights kindled. Leela found herself wandering toward the town square, drawn by the soft flicker of street lamps and the gentle pulse of emotional glows around her. Ethan was already there, seated on the weathered bench beneath the old oak tree, his figure cast in a muted light that somehow still pulled her in. She hesitated a moment before settling beside him, the familiar creak of the wood beneath them grounding her in the present. Their auras, usually so vivid in others, were delicate here, fragile threads of light weaving between them. A cool breeze stirred the amber leaves around their feet, whispering secrets of seasons past. "It's quieter than I expected," Leela murmured, her voice barely above the rustling leaves. Ethan glanced at her, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Sometimes the quiet holds the loudest thoughts. She nodded, feeling the weight of unspoken words settle between them like a shared breath. I still have moments when the grief feels like a shadow I can't shake. Like it's a part of me I'm afraid to let go of, even when it dims my light. His eyes searched hers, understanding etched in the depths. I know, I've lived with that shadow for so long, I sometimes forget what light feels like without it. The honesty in his tone was a bomb, and Lila felt her own glow pulse gently in response, a hesitant ember beginning to catch flame. Do you think we can really leave the shadows behind? Or do they just become part of who we are? Ethan reached out, his hand brushing against hers, warm and steady. Maybe it's not about leaving them behind, but learning to carry them differently, letting them shape our light instead of extinguish it. The words resonated deeply. Lila squeezed his hand, feeling a fragile hope take root. I want to try with you. A soft smile blossomed on Ethan's face, his dim glow brightening just enough to warm her heart. Then let's face the light and shadow together. Later, in the quiet sanctuary of his bookstore, Ethan shared a poem he'd found, a piece about loss and the slow bloom of new beginnings. His voice was steady but carried the weight of his past, and Lila listened, tears glistening in her eyes as the words wrapped around her like a tender embrace. Do you think the light can really grow after it's been so dark? She asked softly. He looked at her, his gaze steady and sure. It does, because it's not about how bright the light was before, it's about how fiercely it burns now. The moment lingered, and when Maggie joined them later at the cafe, her laughter and vibrant glow brought a warmth that filled the room. You too look like you've been through the fire and come out glowing, she teased gently. Remember, it's okay to lean on each other. That's how we grow stronger. Lila smiled, feeling the truth in her friend's words seep into her bones. The path ahead wouldn't be without shadows, but with Ethan by her side, the light felt possible again. As they walked hand in hand beneath the glowing street lamps, their hearts beat in quiet harmony. The night was filled with promise, the promise that even amidst light and shadow, love could carve a way forward. And as they disappeared into the soft luminescence of their town, it was clear that their journey was just beginning. The night held its breath, waiting for the dawn. The night air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of blooming jasmine and the soft hum of distant laughter. As dusk deepened into darkness, the quaint town seemed to awaken in a new Witt Street. Homes and hearts glowing softly, radiating a warm, ethereal light that pulsed gently like the breath of the community itself. Lila stepped into the town square, her chestnut hair catching the glow of lanterns strung overhead and the myriad emotional lights shimmering from every person gathered. Her own glow, once so dim and flickering uncertainly, now shone with a steady warmth, a testament to the journey she had traveled. She felt Ethan's hand slip into hers, his touch grounding and familiar, his own light beside hers brighter than she'd ever seen. The square was alive with quiet celebration. Lanterns, each a delicate vessel of hopes and healing, were released into the night, floating upwards like stars being born anew. The townspeople's faces were serene yet vibrant, their emotional glows weaving together into a tapestry of color and light that seemed to breathe with life. This was more than a festival. It was a shared ritual of resilience, a collective embrace of both shadow and illumination. Leela looked around and saw Maggie at the cafe steps, her curly red hair haloed by the soft glow of her recovering light. Maggie's laughter rang clear and bright, drawing a small circle of friends into stories of heartbreak and hope. Nearby, Jonas stood by the ancient oak, his silver-streaked hair catching the lamplight as he spoke in quiet tones to Sammy, whose youthful eyes sparkled with wonder. The older man's words seemed to pass on more than history, they passed on a legacy of emotional courage. Taking a deep breath, Lila turned her gaze back to Ethan. The bookstore owner's thoughtful eyes met hers, his glow now a rich, steady flame rather than a shy flicker. "It's beautiful," he murmured, voice low and steady, "how we all shine together." She nodded, squeezing his hand. "I used to be afraid of this light, of letting it show of what it meant to be vulnerable. But now I see it's our greatest strength." Ethan smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling with genuine warmth. "And it's not just about shining alone. It's about what happens when our lights touch, when they merge." They moved closer beneath the ancient oak, their intertwined hands sending ripples of color across the cobblestones. Around them, the town's glow pulsed in harmony, a living reflection of the connections that had formed, the wounds that had healed, and the hope that had been rekindled. Maggie approached, her eyes bright and her aura vivid. "Look at us," she said, voice filled with wonder, a whole town lighting up the night. "It's like the darkness isn't as scary anymore." Jonas joined them, his gaze sweeping the gathering crowd. "This glow we've always known, it was special. But tonight, it feels like it's telling a new story, one of acceptance and second chances." Sammy, standing nearby with wide eyes, asked, "Will it always be this way? Can we keep this light alive, even when things get hard?" Lila knelt to his level, her smile gentle. "That's the promise we make to each other, to keep our hearts open, to share our light no matter what. Because even the faintest light can grow brilliant with care and trust." The night deepened, but the town's glow never waned. Instead, it grew richer, fuller, as if fed by every shared story, every healed wound, every brave step toward love. Lila felt her heart swell with a hopeful serenity she hadn't known in years. The shadows of grief still whispered, but they no longer held power over her light. As the festival drew to a close, the crowd slowly dispersed, each person carrying a spark of that collective warmth back into their homes and lives. Lila and Ethan lingered a moment longer beneath the oak, their lights mingling in a dance of color and promise. "What comes next?" Ethan asked softly. "Whatever we choose to make it," Lila replied, eyes shining with quiet certainty. Together, and with that, the night embraced them, their hearts alight, their futures glowing bright with possibility. The town had not just embraced the night. It had embraced the light within each of them, illuminating a path forward where love and healing could flourish endlessly. But as the last lanterns faded into the sky, a gentle breeze whispered through the streets, carrying with it a question that lingered like a soft shadow. How far would their lights reach, and what new challenges awaited in the unfolding dawn? The night was theirs to hold, but the journey ahead was only just beginning. The night was alive with a gentle hummer symphony of whispered conversations and soft laughter, mingling beneath a sky embroidered with countless stars. The town square, once quiet and shadowed, now pulsed with radiant light, an ethereal glow that wrapped the gathered crowd in warmth and wonder. At the heart of it all stood Lila and Ethan, their hands tentatively finding each other's, fingers intertwining with a familiarity that felt both new and deeply rooted. Lila's chestnut hair caught the flickering light of lanterns strung between the old oak trees. Her paint-stained blouse now brushed with vibrant hues that mirrored the festival's spirit. She felt the steady beat of her heart, each pulse sending ripples of soft luminescence through the air around her. Beside her, Ethan's dim glow, once so hesitant and fragile, now blossomed into a steady, brilliant light. beacon of hope and trust that reached out to hers and merged gently, brilliantly. Together, their lights intertwined, weaving a tapestry of colors that danced like fireflies in the night. The townspeople gathered close, their faces illuminated by the collective glow, smiles radiant and eyes bright with shared understanding. Maggie stood near the cafe soap in windows, raising a glass with a proud smile, her own fiery light shining strong after months of personal struggle. Sammy, youthful and eager, danced lightly at her side, his laughter ringing clear and bright, a reminder of new beginnings and the promise of growth. Jonas, the town's historian, stepped forward, his silver-streaked hair shimmering as he spoke with reverence. His voice carried the weight of generations, telling stories of the town's origins, the mysterious glow that had always been more than mere lighter, symbol of the human heart's capacity to feel and heal. The crowd listened, spellbound, as he spoke of resilience, love, and the courage to embrace vulnerability. Lila's gaze shifted to Ethan, meeting his thoughtful eyes with a mixture of tenderness and unspoken gratitude. "I never thought I'd find this again," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "The light, the hope, being able to trust that the darkness doesn't have to last forever." Ethan squeezed her hand gently, his smile shy but genuine. "Neither did I," he admitted. "But here we are, proof that even the faintest light can grow brilliant when nurtured." As the festival's final moments unfolded, Lila pulled a small sketchbook from her bag. Settling onto a nearby bench, she began to capture the scene, the swirling colors, the mingling of shadows and light, the faces that told stories of pain, healing, and love. Each stroke of her pencil was a testament to the journey they had taken. Through grief's cold shadow, the tentative steps toward vulnerability, and the radiant warmth of newfound connection. The night air was filled with a soft melody, the town's musicians weaving a lullaby that echoed the heartbeats of all present. Lila felt a tear slip down her cheek, not one of sorrow, but of profound peace and hope. The glow around her was no longer fragile. It was strong, resilient, a beacon that would guide her forward. "Thank you," she murmured to Ethan, her voice steady now, "for lighting the way." Ethan's eyes glistened. "And thank you for showing me how to shine." Together, with hearts alight, they stepped forward into the future, ready to face whatever darkness might come, knowing their light would never fade as long as they nurtured it with care and love. The town's glow enveloped them, a living testament to second chances and the enduring power of love. And as dawn crept softly over the horizon, casting a gentle blush across the sky, Lila and Ethan stood hand in hand, their lights shining brilliantly, promise of healing, hope, and a love that would never dim.